Welcome back, everyone. And this session will provide a perspective on food governance and its relationship with feeding a fragile world. And these esteemed leaders will share the challenges and opportunities combating pervasive health, climate, and conflict shocks to the global food system. I want to thank you all for being here. First of all, let me introduce you and introduce you to your moderator today, which is Director General Manuel Otero from ICA. Thank you to Secretary Ross, the Secretary of Agriculture from California, who joins us virtually. Thank you, Secretary. To the Honorable Minister Mustafa from the Ministry of Agriculture in Guyana, the Honorable Minister Ali Khan from the Federal Government of Pakistan, and to the Honorable Minister of Panama, Minister Salcedo. Welcome. We also have two aides on stage from ICA who will be helping us today. Due to some language and translation issues, we have a video for Minister Salcedo, which we'll be playing shortly. Before that, I will turn it over to Director General Otero, Manuel Otero.
Thank you, Kyle. Good morning, everyone. It is a real honor to be participating in this session with agriculture ministers from key regions all over the world, and emphasizing, first of all, that food security is at the top of the global agenda. I would like to emphasize that ICA supports a systemic vision for agriculture and the necessity to promote a transition based on the following pillars. First pillars, producers have to be at the forefront of all negotiations. They are key actors in order to promote prosperity and better quality of life to rural areas. Secondly, science and innovation as a basic input, thinking in a new generation for better policies. Third pillar, a much more synergistic relationship between production and environment. Let us always bear in mind, for example, that air quality in urban centers will be to a greater extent a result and consequence of the type of agriculture that we are developing in rural areas. Then, as a corollary of all the above, we insist that the agriculture has to be part of the solution, given its obvious relationship with the issues of mitigation and adaptation to the climate change. But without further ado, you are here for listen to the ministers, so recognizing the importance of all of you, dear ministers, I would like to open this session offering video remarks by Honorable Carlos Augusto Salcedo Saldivar. He's the Minister of the Presidency of Panama. Panama is a very special country because the government and people of Panama has decided to discuss at the Congress a law, a long-term law, trying to put in motion a lot of transformation for the Panamanian agriculture policy. So I would like, please, to run this video with the remarks of Minister Carlos Augusto Salcedo. Please.
Señores ministros presentes, señora Bárbara Stimson, presidenta de la Fundación World Food Prize, doctor Manuel Otero, director general del Instituto Interamericano de Cooperación para la Agricultura, ICA, señoras y señores. Es un honor para mí, un reto participar en este foro en la que nos acompañamos y nos comprometemos a dialogar sobre temas tan sensibles y trascendentes en el mundo actual, en la que combinamos temas de tipo estructurales en materia de alimentación en medio de dramáticas momentos que vive el mundo. Es necesario que nuestra población se empodere sobre los diferentes problemas que garantizarán la alimentación a nuestros pueblos en los próximos años. Panamá es un país de 4.5 millones de habitantes con una superficie de 78.000 kilómetros cuadrados que históricamente ha servido como punto estratégico en la conexión de nuestros pueblos y ha contribuido enormemente a facilitar la logística del comercio mundial. La llegada de la pandemia del COVID nos dio un gran mensaje, que nuestros pueblos tienen que garantizar su seguridad y su soberanía alimentaria. Y dio un mensaje alto y claro a las autoridades para que en medio de esta crisis sacáramos beneficios positivos para potenciar el agro y convertirlo en un eje que dinamice los procesos de cambio a las economías rurales. En Panamá, la crisis la afrontamos de diferentes formas, no solamente abasteciendo alimentación, sino también precios de sostén, precios de referencia al combustible y a los hidrocarburos. Tuvimos que generar actividades y alternativas nuevas, como es la producción de productos y fertilizantes orgánicos a través de las estructuras productivas de la agricultura familiar. Nuestro gobierno también desarrolló proyectos para mitigar la desigualdad, como es un plan Colmena, como es Estudiar sin Hambre, como es el programa de Panamá Solidario, que garantizaba adquirir productos, el Estado adquirir productos nacionales y ponerla en la mesa del pueblo panameño en medio de una conflagración mundial. El gobierno del presidente Laurentino Cortizo recoge una reclamación histórica de los productores que reclamaban para el agro una política de Estado, y fue así entonces cuando realizando actividades de inducción pudimos incorporar apoyos de organismos internacionales, y aquí el ICA jugó un papel sumamente importante porque se empoderó de esta reclamación y de esta decisión del gobierno panameño en construir una política de Estado que garantizaran seguridad jurídica al agro. Esos ejes estratégicos fueron aportes sustantivos generados del propio diagnóstico y de las propias reclamaciones y necesidades de los propios productores. Incorporamos también en la construcción de esos ejes estratégicos los 11.150 aportes que se dieron de un ejercicio nacional de concertación que fue el Pacto Bicentenario, al celebrar los 200 años de independencia del Istmo. De allí pudimos definir entonces sí ya los ejes estratégicos que definirían una política de Estado, como la educación, el financiamiento, la productividad, el acceso a mercado, las agrotecnologías, la adecuación institucional. También está constituido un Plan Nacional de Desarrollo que contiene espacios y que permitirá elaborar planes y programas y proyectos con recursos del Estado que puedan ser medidos a través de una plataforma digital y poder entonces ir midiendo el comportamiento productivo de cada uno de los subsectores. Y también contiene la política de Estado un consejo de seguimiento y cumplimiento que está constituido por 27 miembros, de los cuales 19 son del sector no gubernamental, que vigilarán y garantizarán el cumplimiento de esta política de Estado, que es la seguridad jurídica a lo largo del tiempo, y que le darán al productor la base para poder saber orientar la producción en estos tiempos difíciles. La política de Estado constituye en el primer instrumento legal que contiene principalmente una visión a largo plazo y que constituirá la base para que nuestros productores podamos atacar los problemas de desigualdad, atender los problemas de incorporación de los grandes sectores de la población, disminuir la desigualdad social, llevar la tecnología hacia los sectores productivos, disminuir la pobreza rural, garantizar la soberanía y la seguridad alimentaria de nuestra población. Y hoy día esta política de Estado se constituirá en el punto de referencia para que los próximos gobiernos le den al agro el blindaje necesario para poder conducir las acciones productivas bajo un rumbo, bajo una orientación. Panamá pone sobre la mesa esta experiencia que es la construcción de una política de Estado a largo plazo para el sector agropecuario, no dejando a un lado el aporte significativo que tuvo el ICA y ha tenido el ICA para que junto apalanquemos un nuevo futuro y una nueva realidad para el sector agropecuario panameño y convertir nuestra posición geográfica en un hub alimentario que acopie todos los alimentos de América Latina y poder exportarlo, potenciando nuestra conectividad de país, nuestra economía dolarizada, nuestro centro bancario, nuestra conectividad, nuestra potencialidad geográfica que históricamente ha servido a unir las distancias entre los países y ha sido el puente del mundo, corazón del universo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you once again, Minister Salcedo, for the bold decision taken by the government of Panama and the support also from the opposition side, the farmers, and the decision to establish a medium and long-term horizon for the agriculture in Panama. I am sure other countries will be very much interested in knowing more about this experience. Now I'm going to read the question that is going to be shared by this panel and reads, the dialogue centers around short and long-term shocks to food systems. How have food systems in your area been affected by COVID, conflict, and climate shocks? This is a question. Tell us about the agriculture and nutrition trends you are seeing in your countries and states, obviously, and regions. What are the greatest challenges you face now in feeding a fragile world? I will begin by the remarks of Secretary Karen Ross. Please, Secretary, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and I appreciated your opening comments and agree with the pillars that you've outlined. I will be as brief as I can be to do a summation of what our biggest challenges and shocks have been over the last 3 years, not only like everyone else were we facing the pandemic and the disruption of shutting down the economy and what that meant to the food supply chain, and we continue to deal with problems in our supply chain, but also 2020, we had our worst wildfire season ever. And wildfire has a direct impact to agriculture. We had so many concurrent fires in the state of California that it created a 30-day continuous cover of smoke within the Central Valley, which is our most productive agricultural section of the state. And that literally interfered with photosynthesis. And as a very important producer of horticultural crops, California produces 1/3 of the nation's vegetables, 2/3 of the nation's tree nuts and fruits, 20% of the milk. We are very, very impacted by climate change, and those wildfires and the dryness that we suffered that created those situations had an impact. In 2021, we had a good year for moisture and precipitation, but we forecast 800,000 acre-feet of runoff from the snowpack in our mountains that would go into our reservoirs to supply that irrigation and drinking water for our state. And because of the dryness of our soils, we literally had no runoff, and that is a huge impact for agriculture. As a result, we fallowed almost 400,000 acres of land in that year, 2021, with tremendous economic impact and the loss of production. And this year, we suffered the highest extreme heat days in a concurrent weeks period of time. That is a challenge for people, is a challenge for workforce, and it caused crops to literally melt in the fields. So we are feeling that in very profound ways. Our plan going forward is to continue to invest in the resiliency of agriculture. We are very fortunate that we have a cap and trade program that allows us to reinvest dollars into our transition to carbon neutrality. And we have invested that in methane reduction in our dairies, in improving our soil practices, in providing grants for on-farm water use efficiency, to assist our farmers to phase out agricultural burning, to replace engines on the farm that use diesel to cleaner burning engines, and to improving the energy efficiency of our food processing capacity. The last thing I want to add is we're investing in helping our small, historically underserved farmers and our immigrant farmers with technical assistance and with demonstration projects and with starting a whole new farm-to-school program so that we are supporting more local food systems to put food through to our schools to improve the nutrition of every student with locally grown fruits and vegetables and dairy products and meat products. And at that time, supporting our local economy and rural communities, improving the life and well-being of our students and their ability to be as productive as can be, and giving them experiential learning practices that will really equip them to be well-nourished adults as they grow up. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Un tema muy local.
Because of the way you describe how the Californian agriculture was affected by climate change and the urgent necessity to put in motion a much more resilient strategy. Describing also the importance of water and soil management and the implementation of good practices. Now I would like to offer the floor to Honorable Zulfikar Mustafa, Minister of Guyana, a key country in Latin America and the Caribbean region because of the huge potential Guyana has as a food supplier for the Caribbean country and also, why not, to the rest of the world. Dear friend, Minister Mustafa, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Director General, colleagues, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. I'm very happy to be on this panel, and today's discussion is more important than ever in the history of our world, because as we work together to accelerate transformation of our food system to achieve Agenda 2030, we must remain cognizant of that. Globally, we can no longer operate using a business as usual approach. We have to change the way we do things. The socio-economic effects of COVID pandemic, climate crisis, and the consequences of the ongoing war on food and fertilizer prices are some important challenges to ensure we move forward to achieve the next level. As I said, we are meeting here today and involved in this conversation that to feed a fragile world, and I'd like to add to that we have a healthy diet and at the same time maintain a healthy planet. We have seen what happened over the last 2.5 years since the introduction or since it started of the pandemic. Many countries, and this here we have to learn example what took place around the world. Many countries that thought they will have enough food, they have the funds, they have the money, but they were unable to get the food to purchase. Because of what? There is a food crisis in the world, and we must recognize it. Developing world, developed world, all the entire countries in the world, we are faced with a food crisis. And if we don't act together, if we don't produce together, then we will perish together as a global population around the world. And as I said, in the Caribbean, in Guyana, my country, and the Caribbean, we are working to see how we can drastically reduce dependency and import, to reduce shocks in our economy. Because in Guyana and in the Caribbean, that region is the most, or the second most prone disaster region in the world. We are seeing today what climate change has done in that region. Many countries' agriculture sector were wiped out. For example, last year, we would have suffered one of the most devastating floods in the history of our country, when almost 90% of the agriculture sector was wiped out. As I'm speaking here, my brothers and sisters in Pakistan, they are experiencing severe floods. So you could see the climate change is not something that we talked about now. It's something that is real, and we have to put emphasis, we have to recognize the problems that we are faced with. If we are being faced with all these problems, pandemic, war, climate change, then we have to act together. We can't only come and talk and come and at a forum and say that we'll do things. At the end of the forum, when we go back to our respective country, then the action continue that we don't support the process to ease the burden on vulnerable economies around the world. And in this way, we have been working, as our president have been leading the agriculture food agenda in CARICOM. We have been working to reduce the food import bill, and in 3 years' time, we have made a decision in CARICOM that we want to reduce this food import bill by 25%. If we can do that, then we will avoid our economy, we will avoid our country from getting these shocks that we are talking about here this morning. If we can also look at the production, up our production, increase our production, then when we have pandemics around the world, the food supply chain will not be disturbed in supplying food in the local economy. For example, Guyana today is producing 60% of the food that we are consuming in the country. But as a government, we are not satisfied with that. Although we are now an emerging oil and gas producing country, the IMF has predicted that Guyana is the only country in this year will have the highest economic growth, almost 50%. But as a government, we want to diversify, we want to produce more food. Because in CARICOM, almost 78% of poultry product coming from North America and Europe. We want to reduce that, and we want to reduce the dependency from these imports. What we have done, we have a ministerial task force in CARICOM, and we have been working assiduously. We have prioritized a number of commodities that can have potential to cause shocks in the economy. And we are working now to reduce those food imports. For example, in the livestock industry, we want to produce all the corn and soya so that we can be independent, we can have enough of those feed for the livestock industry. So at the same time, whilst we are increasing livestock production, we want to also increase the feed production, so we will not be dependent on imports. And these are the things. For example, in Latin America and the Caribbean, we are faced with a serious problem to give our population healthy diets. When you look around the world, almost 30% of the world population are not having healthy diets. But when you look in the Caribbean and Latin America, that figure has gone up to almost 40 to 45%. It costs us more in the Caribbean and Latin America to give our population a healthy diet. Around the world, the average is about $3.28 US dollars per day. In the Caribbean and Latin America, it's costing us almost $4.50 per day. So, and the economy in the Caribbean is not that robust, because mostly these economies are small, vulnerable economies, depend on tourism. And you know what took place during the pandemic. The tourism sector was hit hard. The only countries in the Caribbean that has the potential or have the potential to move forward in terms of agriculture production are countries like Guyana, Suriname, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago to a lesser extent. But what we have to do, we have to work with allies around the world. We have to work as a global family now. We don't have to divide the world with Latin America and the Caribbean, Asia, North America. We have to work as a global population. Today's discussion and the discussion that will follow, we should take all those ideas coming out and implement it. Organizations like the FAO and ICA should come forward to ensure, the World Food Program should come forward to ensure that we put those ideas that are coming out at these forums into action, so that at the next forum when we come here, then we can measure what had happened. But if we continue to come to forum and talk about what are the issues, and we don't bring solution to the problem, then we will end up another 10 years with the same problems, and we'll end up worse. So today I want to say we have to work, we have to reiterate our position and say that, look, we have to help the vulnerable economies. We have to look at climate change, how we can deal with climate change. Places like Asia, Africa, Caribbean, those are vulnerable regions. Let us work together to enhance their agriculture system. Let us work together to enhance their infrastructural system. Let us go into the rural area where people are now having 1 meal per day, sometimes no meal, and work together to ease those burdens. So these are ideas that we have to work with. I think the pandemic has created a lot of shocks around the world. Big economies experience shocks. What about let us look at the smaller economies. They have been, some economies have crashed. Places like Haiti are in dire need of help. And other Latin American countries, we have to work together as a global family. So this, Director General, I want to say that we are working in CARICOM. We know for a fact that we have to ensure that we produce. We have to prioritize the commodities that we are importing, and at a time will come when we have to have self-sufficient. The wars around the world, we know that the wars is causing problems. For example, we are in wheat importer. Because of the war in Russia and Ukraine, wheat production will fall this year. We are anticipating that, and we have started the production of wheat in Guyana with the help from Brazil so that we can produce our own wheat. These are things, options that we have to look at. When one region is being affected and countries around that region are being affected, we have to work together as a global family so that we can reduce the poverty, reduce the burden, and ensure that we build a country, build a region that people can live happily with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. I would like just to emphasize what Minister Mustafa has said in the sense that Guyana is the country with the highest economic growth all over the world. So I am sure a lot of investments will be devoted to promote agriculture and rural development. Guyana belongs to Caribbean region. This region has to write a food import bill every year of about 5 billion. I was going to say 4.8, 5 billion per year. It's a lot of money. So they had decided to reduce in a 25% probably in 4 or 5 years. And also he introduced the notion of healthy diet, which is something very important. It's food and nutrition security. Thank you very much, Minister Mustafa. And now I would like to give the floor to the Honorable Sharharvar Ali Khan, Minister of Agriculture of Pakistan. Please, Minister.
Hello. My name is Shahryar Ali Khan. I belong to Pakistan. I come from Pakistan. I'm Minister of State in Pakistan. I was born in Lahore. And the area where I am from is Vihadi. The population of Pakistan is 25 billion, maybe more. And this time we had terrible floods in Pakistan. Everybody knows it. And the flood cause is due to the climate change. We used to have rain like in a month in Pakistan from mid of July to mid of August. This time we have rains almost in 3 months' time, from June till the mid of September. And it was such a heavy rain that our area has been damaged very badly. If you can see, we have 4 provinces in Pakistan, and 2 of our province has been damaged. 67% of the population in Pakistan is in agriculture based. And if you can see, 2 provinces been damaged, 67% of the Pakistan is been unrest, total Pakistan. And we are having very shortage of food. A lot of the countries is helping us out in this matter, but still the damage has been made so heavy. Estimately, it is a damage of $40 billion US dollars. And we don't have that kind of reserves. So we are thinking and planning that the world should come up and give us a hand so that we can build our things again. So we have been having a crisis of wheat because we are not sufficient, but we are good enough. We produce our own wheat, but this time due to floods, our crop has been very badly damaged. So the world has been helping us, like USA has given us the cash and other crop, wheat and other things. So the rest of the world is also helping us. In Paris, there is a donor conference, which we held soon, I think so, within a week or 15 days' time. So world is helping us. So the climate change has had a very bad effect in Pakistan. So it's time for the world to think over. And as a nation, as a world global, we should think over it. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for your remarks. Once again, the common denominator is the impact of climate change affecting the livelihood of farmers in your country, in all of these countries. So it's a very serious concern, and it requires definitely a collective action. Thank you very much for the contributions of all ministers. If you allow me, I will read the second question, requesting once again to foster the dialogue between and among all of you. As the future holds more shocks to global food systems, how can leaders and entities in food governance be both strong and agile? What are policies and investments being developed for reconstruction now and for building resiliency for the future? Considering both current and future shocks related to health, conflict, and climate. How do we strengthen our process to address unprecedented events in the future? I will repeat the modality in the sense that, first of all, I'm going to offer the floor to Secretary Karen Ross. Please, Secretary, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. And I think the first and most important thing has already been said by every speaker so far. None of us can do this alone. Collaboration, cooperation, building partnerships is the only way we can move forward together. This can happen government to government, but also academia to academia. We know the importance of research. We are at the Borlaug International Dialogue, but also business to business and farmer to farmer. We've been focused on the unique crops that we grow in California, the horticultural crops, and really traveling to these countries that also produce some of these crops to establish working relationships and ongoing communication through webinars. That's one good thing about COVID. We all learned how to meet virtually on Zoom. And it's a way for us to bring information about new practices, new research, new findings to help solve problems in those countries that are facing similar conditions that we are. drought, flooding. I'm so sorry for you in Pakistan for the horrendous season that you've been having. But really being able to build partnerships, and that can lead to shared investment in innovation and technology. This week, in the center of the Central Valley, in Fresno, California, we're hosting the first agri-tech conference about robotics and appropriate scale technology for every size farmer to really help us cope with the challenges that climate change is presenting us. How do we build resiliency with precision agriculture and climate smart practices? Everything from pollination to biological solutions to all the pest issues that continue to grow. And then invest in the workforce skills so that no one's left behind as we develop these new technologies and innovations. And attracting our youth to the exciting possibilities of helping to feed the world in a more environmentally sustainable way going forward so that people want to be part of the solutions in agriculture as we focus on nature-based solutions, preserving biodiversity, and being able to produce more with less and to make sure that it has the highest nutritional value possible. I'm a big believer in what we can do together, and that includes bringing investment because we are collaborating and we're showing that at scale what we need to do in our horticultural crops, because of those crops internationally, we can bring the investment and the solutions to the crops that we grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, once again. The key words were collaboration, cooperation, public to public, public to private, business to business, academy to academy, emphasizing that the future is a knowledge-intensive agriculture and nature-based solutions. Thank you very much. And now I would like to offer the floor to Honorable Zulfikar Mustafa for 3 minutes, please.
Thank you again, Director General. And I think that we have, first of all, we have to ramp up production. We have to increase production. How we can increase production? We have to, first of all, look at what are the problems in the agriculture sector, because the agriculture sector is the most important sector for us to produce food and to get food security for us. Now, there are a number of issues that we have to deal with. For example, we have to de-risk the agriculture sector. Areas that are very vulnerable for climate problems, climate change, vulnerability, we have to have crop insurance for farmers. Many times you have floods, you have disaster, the farmers suffer. For example, last year when we had the floods in Guyana, the government had to find almost $7.8 billion to give the farmers to go back to the land. So if we had crop insurance, then the farmers would have had coverage there. We also have to have, as the Secretary of State always said, we have to have young people buy into agriculture. Many young people today feel that agriculture is a menial job for old people, people who didn't go to school and university. But we have a number of young people who are graduates in agronomy and degree in agriculture. We have a lot of women who are interested in agriculture, but they are not being given a chance. We have to harness that potential. We have to make our agriculture do it in a more modern way, do it in a smarter way, do it in a less labor intensity way, so that people can be attractive. We can see agriculture as an activity that they want to get involved, they are passionate about it, and then we can have food production. For example, in Guyana, we have formed a group with young people. We have now a number of young people who are involved, graduates, who are involved in agriculture practically, rather than to sit behind a desk doing the desk job. Now, we have identified a number of high-value crops, things like broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, lettuce, and we started it with shade houses. We have built we will be building almost 300 shade houses across the country, where young people will manage it, where they will be the manager and they will be selling these produce in the hospitality industry, in the oil and gas industry, and they will have large profit because these are high-value crops. The president have instructed that certain projects must have a number of women in it, Single parents, we have started the Cut Flower Roads project for them. They are getting involved in agriculture. They are having an activity. We have started a black belly sheep project for women. Almost 35% of everybody who are involved has to be women coming out in that project. So we have been encouraging these parts of the population, this section of the population, to get involved in agriculture. Agriculture today is so important that we can't only have a part of the population involved in agriculture. We have to have the population buy into it. We have to have people love to do this activity. And we have to have the government response. We have to develop the private sector. The private sector has to play a key role because government will develop the infrastructure, but the investment has to come from the private sector. That is why we have to develop the private sector to ensure that we build a robust and resilient agriculture sector. If we don't do these things, then we will end up again next year, come here and talk about it. By the time we come back here next year, we must say that in the Caribbean and Latin America, we have had an increase of 40% of the private sector involvement in agriculture. We are having young people, 50% of young people graduate from the university coming out, going to agriculture to do it practically. We have a number of female involved in the agriculture. So we have to change the mindset of people. That's the first thing. We have to get people to buy into this activity, and we have to show them the importance of production, productivity, but more importantly, food security. And we have to refer to what took place over the last 2.5 years and what is taking place now in the world. And if we don't act now, then we'll perish as a global population. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. You emphasize something very important about the necessity to increase production, and this requires, first of all, the involvement of the whole population, and especially the young generation, putting an emphasis on women. You emphasize also the importance of the management of risk, and obviously more investment from the private sector. So thank you once again. And I would like to offer the floor to Honorable Shahryar Ali Khan for your comments.
Yeah, the technology is very important for us in Pakistan. Like, I can give you an example. We used to have cotton. Basically, we have a very cotton area in Pakistan. We used to have bales like 150 million bales in a year. Now we have come to 60 millions only. We have dropped like 50% of our cotton has been reduced. It's due to technology. The world is not giving us the good seeds. Like, we used to have BT seeds, BT1, and we are still on BT1. And the crop is not giving us a good yield. So the technology, if we have a good technology, so we can produce more. And we have very good lands. We have very good infrastructure in Pakistan. We used to have 150 million bales before, so we should have been gone like 300 million bales. And instead of going up, we have come down. It's due to the technology. So the seed companies, multinational companies should give us the technology so that if we will grow more, the things will be provided to the world more, the prices will be fall down. If everybody has a shortage, like there is a shortage in wheat, there is a shortage in cotton, the prices will go up. It's a matter of demand and supply. So the technology should be given to the countries so that there should be good food, good things, and the prices should be come down. It will come down if we have plenty of wheat, cotton, sugar. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for putting the emphasis on the necessity of applying technology, since Pakistan has excellent and very fertile lands. So this is a challenge to be adopted by all countries about the necessity of promoting research and extension. We would begin this new level of comments requesting very concrete remarks in order to make some call to action. We need to be concrete and hopefully committing for the next year for concrete actions to transform agriculture in your countries and worldwide, obviously. So I would like to offer now to Secretary Karen Ross once again for a very brief intervention of 2 minutes with some call to action, please.
So my call to action is that we do more and more of these kinds of sessions, not once a year, but that we build out these relationships and use the virtual capabilities that we have to exchange information and make sure that we're all getting the most current science and understand how that can be practically applied in our fields, in our orchards, in our pastures, and in our processing plants. That best is the only way forward, is that by coming together, sharing the expertise and the practical knowledge, including that of indigenous people, to inform how we can build resiliency and advance together to ensure nutritional security for every citizen on the globe.
Thank you, Secretary Ross. I would like to emphasize the importance to do more with less and always in a very different way. Minister Salcedo, you would like to make some call to action, please?
Sí, buenas noches, buenos días.
Hello.
Muchas gracias. Okay. Muy importante estar aquí con ustedes hoy en medio de una discusión tan puntual como es enfrentar la producción de alimentos frente a situaciones adversas cambiantes como el cambio climático y como la conflagración de guerra que vivimos extramuros.
I am first sorry I'm not a professional translator. Then be with me in that. And the minister saying hello to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be discussing such an important issue in a moment that the world is facing the drama and the trauma of the world.
Abreviamos la presentación nuestra con el video y le agradece en nombre del Gobierno de Panamá la oportunidad que tenemos aquí frente a tan ilustres compañeros y ministros y el director del ICA, la señora ministra de Agricultura de California, Karen Ross.
The minister is saying thank you to everybody and saying hello to all the ministers and thanking for the opportunity to be here.
Como ustedes históricamente han visto, Panamá es un país que se ve como un país de comercio, de tránsito y solamente se ve como un canal.
Panama is always seems as a country of transit, banking activities, and of course the importance of the Canal de Panama, the Panama Channel.
Pero hay realidades importantes que hay que señalar, como por ejemplo Panamá es el corredor biológico mesoamericano.
But it's important to distinguish and to highlight that Panama is part of the corridor, Mesoamerican corridor, that is so important for the communication, which he also, if you remember, mentioned during his presentation in the video.
Ese corredor mesoamericano une el norte con el sur y aporta un sexto del territorio de los 75,000 kilómetros cuadrados para garantizar la bioestabilidad y el cambio climático, teniendo uno de los indicadores más altos en materia de recuperar la huella de ozono.
Wow. I am sure that everybody understood, right? Well, it was heavy, that one. Minister, I need to repeat that because he was talking about the importance of the bio corridor. And the importance. Help me. Mm-hmm. No, you can help. And he mentioned some data you're talking about 75,000
kilómetros cuadrados
75,000 square kilometers, meters,
y significa un sexto del territorio en garantizar el equilibrio climático.
which represent like 1/6 of the territory of Panama, and that help to
Minister spoke about the call to action.
control,
Para garantizar la estabilidad climática.
to guarantee the climate stabilization. I'm sorry.
Por otra parte, unido a Colombia, tenemos un área inexpugnable, difícil, selvática, que garantiza el no traslado de enfermedades como la fiebre aftosa a los Estados Unidos.
And if you also think that connecting with Colombia and the relationship that they have in the territory and how they work and protect to detain and control the possibility of a sickness or epidemics that goes to the territory of the U.S. Right?
¿Ya? Con ese sacrificio, con ese aporte a la humanidad, Panamá garantiza su frontera agrícola.
With this contribution to humanity, Panama guarantee their agricultural frontier borders.
Ya. Okay. Y es importante que Panamá en este momento haya retomado con mucha seriedad y mucha formalidad realinear la producción agropecuaria.
It's very important in this moment that Panama has decided to align its agricultural policies and activities,
Y ha decidido construir una política de Estado para el sector agropecuario.
and they decided to build a state policy for the agriculture. And this is something that very unique in the region,
Que garantice la continuidad por 20 años la estabilidad del productor en el campo,
which will guarantee for the next 20 years the stability of the agricultural producers.
Esa política de Estado nace de una reclamación histórica de los productores.
That state policy was born for a long history of complaints and claims from the producers,
Se construye sobre los aportes de los propios productores
and is built with the contribution of the own producers.
y recibimos la colaboración del Instituto Interamericano de Cooperación Agrícola para modelar todas las ideas y convertirlo en una ley de la República.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. And we received the contribution of IICA to help us to build that historical decision and to contribute to the development of that and implementation and approval of that law. Mr. Minister,
Pone esta experiencia al servicio de los pueblos de América Latina para que demos base jurídica y conducción en el tiempo independientemente de los gobiernos.
and he offered and put that experience, which is a very unique experience of 7 years fighting and negotiating to develop and define a state policy. They put it to everybody who wants to know and follow, because this could help in the definition of other state policies in the region. With this, I ask you please to forgive my poor translation. I'm not going to apply for that position. And I thank you, the Minister, for helping him and helping me in this presentation. Thank
Muchas gracias.
you. Gracias, Ministro.
Thank you, Minister. Once again, Minister Mustafa, your final comment.
Quickly, I know time, DG time is running out, but as I said, we have to increase and ramp up production. In the Caribbean, we are working to reduce the food import bill by 25% by 2025. And there are a number of issues that we have to deal with. For example, we have to improve transportation and logistics amongst countries in the Caribbean and Latin America. As I said earlier, we have to de-risk the agriculture sector, focus on agriculture insurance and alternative financing to bridge the financial gap. increase cross-border investment across country, accelerate the access to agricultural land for agriculture production, especially amongst rural population, increase in private sector development, increase in technical assistance for our development partners and countries that have gotten it right. So we have to learn best practices. We have to have financing from those developed countries that have their agriculture sector in a proper position and that they are producing. We have to invest in human resource development, greater, as I said, greater involvement of women and youth in agriculture, fiscal measure by government to increase investment in agriculture, machinery and equipment. Last but not least, removal of all trade barriers that affect trades among neighboring countries and countries around the region. These are things, decisions we have to take. And I want to, before I close, I want to thank the World Food Prize Foundation, ECA and other organizations that have organized activities like this. I think these are a very important forum that we can come share knowledge, share best practices, and also implement ideas that are coming out of here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Finally, Minister Honorable Shahryar Ali Khan, please, your final comments.
Yeah, I think it's time for the world to share the technology so that the other countries can have better growth, better crop. If we have a better crop, like other countries will have a better crop, we have surplus food, then the prices will fall down. Otherwise, there is no chance that the prices will come down. If there is a shortage, then there will be high demand. If there is surplus food, then the price will automatically fall down. So it's the time for the multinational companies to invest in different countries, give us a good, give different world, give us a good yield seeds so that if we can have a good yield, so we can produce more. If the country will produce more, the world will have sufficient food. Thank you.
Thank you. As a final comment, I would like to emphasize what I have learned for all the interventions that climate change is now, that we have to put in motion some transformation based upon more productivity, more sustainable agriculture, and especially a much more resilient agriculture. For doing that, we need to establish long-term policies, as the Minister of Panama has said, pro-nature, as was mentioned by Secretary Ross, pro-farmers, once again, adopting new technology and involving the whole population. Agriculture is not just a matter of farmers. We have to adopt a systemic vision from farmers to consumers, but it's a matter of the whole population. We need obviously more investment and involving young and women. And thank you for your participation. I insist, I have learned a lot, and NICA offers to be connected and working together, which is very, very important. Thank you.
Gracias.